Okay, I think we got the last few stragglers in here. Appreciate you guys all coming tonight. It's an awesome event that Scott likes to put on, and this year we were offering 2 seminars for him to obviously come speak a little bit, give away some cool gear, and hope you guys come home, go away with something cool, hat. What else we got tonight?
Lures and plastics, and let's find grand prizes too.
So on Scott's side, he's got a lot to share with you guys, but on the GFP side, obviously I want to share some things with you guys too. Give a couple shout outs to some things we got going on, things coming up. If you guys are interested in anything, pull me aside. Got a lot of cool things going on the campus. Yeah, to start, we actually just had some meetings with our new shooting sports complex personnel. We are actually going to be doing a lot of classes out there, a lot of cool things, but it is currently open and it's free to the public. There's some certain aspects to it that are paid, the long range, to the trap and the ski, all those things. But it's free and open to the public. So I really want to push, go out there, go check it out. Just go drive around. They have a welcome center. Go in and say hi to the staff there. But if you do have questions tonight, feel free to stop me and ask me. I'd love to share about it. I went out and sighted my rifle in the Fort West River here, and it's great. Yeah, Shooting Sports Complex, it's a great place. Also coming up, we have a bunch of our programs. So I put a couple of these out. Through January through March, we've got things, programs. I'm actually personally in charge of like a new dad's program. I'm a dad of a 2-year-old, so I'm starting to plan and think, okay, how am I gonna raise my kid in these things that we do and that we love to do? So I'm gonna try to incorporate that in some classes. So if there's just something, if you're new to archery, you wanna get into it because you know your kid's gonna be interested. We got classes like that. So things like that. Our 101s, we've got a small game 101 and a waterfowl 101 coming up. So Quigley's in charge of those. I left this card over on the table. If you've never gone waterfowl hunting or small game hunting, go take his card, call him, and you can go on a hunt with him for free. Everything we do is here free. So if it's something you're interested in, come stop me. I'd love to share more about that. But otherwise, I'll give the mic to Scott. At least that mic works. I'll try to work on this one.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for coming out tonight on another blustery day here in the hills. My name is Scott Olson, also known as Dr. Auger, my moniker. This is my good friend Jay Magyar here. He came along from Sioux Falls here to help me with this one, because we're going to go a little more technical with this one than my usual kind of more general seminars. He's very knowledgeable on the forward-facing systems here, a little more than I am. So, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to do something a little different this seminar, with a little more technical, a little more specific, a little more advanced for the general ones. But hopefully everybody learns a little bit of something, and we can all learn something as well. Because even I like being taught stuff too, because that's just kind of how. It is for fishing, I think, is you're learning and you're also trying to help teach as well. So we'll get started here. So, as ice fishing tech has really evolved, like over the last, let's call it 10 years basically. So it's definitely not grandpa's version of ice fishing anymore, where you're sitting on a bucket, you're putting just a stiff line down the water with a bobber and minnow, and kind of hoping something shows up. For the most part, how my grandpa did it, up until he couldn't go on the ice anymore. We now have instant feedback flashers. You'll see what's below you and how the fish are reacting in real time, which makes a real big difference when trying to see the mood of the fish. High definition underwater cameras, like the Markham, the Auger views, the Vexilars, they help us to see weed growth and what weeds are down there, and species specific we can see down there. And also, that's one of the best ways to see how they're reacting to your baits, is actually watch them on an underwater camera. Forward-facing sonar, the big one the last several years. You can see where the fish are at, how far they are from you, what direction they are. So you can precisely kind of drill where they are at once you find them. Plus, you got your GPS technology, you got Google Maps that is really accurate anymore. You can actually find a lot of points and weeds and stuff like that with a Google map, because their maps are highly detailed even over water these days, and that's a nice free thing to use there to kind of see where you might want to go, or if you have enough access out in the lake, you can see like, oh, I'm here, but oh look, there's a shallow point here, or there's a thick weed growth over here, and actually head that direction. So in the world, with the ice fishing world kind of gone crazy for tech here. Jay and I decided let's kind of break this down a little bit to kind of discuss ways to simplify using electronics, kind of how ways to get kind of dialed in. If you're kind of familiar with some of the different features on your forward-facing unit or on like your flashers, me and him both run Vexilar, so a lot of this is really Vexilar related, but Markham and Humminbird also have kind of similar features as well, so it kind of relates both of them as well. So, but first things first, since we are still in really ice around the hills here, thanks to this lovely weather we've been having, is let's go over a little bit of ice safety. As of this week, there is walkable ice, mostly on the trout dams around here. Dalton, Robay, Rosaw, what else is there? Mitchell, Sylvan. Center is still fairly open, last I heard a few days ago, so it's not nearly skimmed right now. But most places other than Stockade and Lake Legion are probably the biggest place around ice still have ice on them. As I heard a few days ago that Chipper Bay had about a few inches on it, but this morning I found out that it's totally open because of that wind we had. So that's put Sheridan behind probably a good 3 weeks now because of this lovely wind we had last couple of days. It's very important to follow the ice thickness guidelines put out by the Game and Fish, as most of you know. 4 inches is considered good for walking on. 5 to 6 you get around more of the snowmobile, maybe a light 4-wheeler. 8 to 12 is your car, your small trucks, and then you get into that 12 to 15 inch range where you can put on more of a full size truck. I myself, the few times I've driven on the ice with my little Ranger, I usually about 2 feet. That's who I feel most comfortable driving on ice with, but I don't do it very often, but when I do it's usually for about 2 feet. So some different tools to have here. Probably one of your best things to do, as I've said, like I said in the previous seminar, is the ice picks are probably your cheapest life insurance policy you can buy for yourself right now with early ice conditions. For $7 to $15, you just put these around your neck, preferably if you're wearing a hoodie or not, get them underneath your hood, connect them together. And you just walk around with these on the ice while you're out there. And should you ever fall through, while they're right there, all you gotta do is pull them apart and start, get to the edge and pull yourself out with the nice pokes on these. And these are the kind of newer clam ones, but I think Frabo makes some and Stryker makes some. There's a bunch of different kinds out there. But yeah, they're only about $7 to $8. But right now, don't go out on the ice without wearing a pair of these, just in case something were to happen to you. As someone who's gone through the ice before, I did that a few years back, late ice. It is nice to have picks around you, just help pull yourself out. And I had a float suit on as well, so I also kept up thanks to that. And the safety rope. Really, any rope really does, but this one here is specifically meant for ice safety, ice fishing. It's one that Clam makes, and this one has a 25-foot rope in it. So all you gotta do is you grab one side of this, you unbuckle this other side, and you hold on, you throw the bag, and it'll uncurl out, and there's another latch over on this side that the person can grab onto, so you can pull them out of the water. Even just regular size rope, 10-foot rope, whatever will help you. Really, just to keep with you. I usually keep this on me pretty much the entire year if it's on my backpack or in my sled or something. Even when the ice is really thick, just in case you might never know you might get a rope. For something else other than getting out. And spud bar, also right now very important to use. So I have some friends who use like rebar or things. As long as you get anything that's got a little bit of weight to it, you can actually hit the ice hard with. It really works. But there's the Clam made this one several years back. Rapala makes one. What else? Eskimo makes one. With the Razorback, yep. What's that? Yeah, there's a few other brands out there, but these are real important to have right now because with the ice speed still being pretty thin, if you're going to be wandering around, you're going to be wandering around and poking around to see how thick that ice is. As a general rule, every hit is approximately 1.5 inches of ice. It's kind of how the general rule goes, especially if you're getting a good whack. Like when I go out and I'm testing ice, I'm typically wrapping cords around my wrist like this, and I'm going further. I'm hitting it pretty hard on the ice to see what happens. So if I get through in like 2 hits, that's about between 3 to 4 inches of ice, and any more than that, you get about 5 inches of ice. But it's important when using this as well. I've seen people walk on the ice like this. It's not a walking stick. You're using it to check ice in front of you, and plus if you're going to be doing this right below you, why would you want to do it right below you? Hit the ice and you're going to fall right through where you're digging it. So that's why it's important to get out a little ways to hit the ice. And if you're doing it right, you're going to be sweating after a bit. That just means you're giving a good whack. But yeah, right now, this doesn't leave the truck right there when I've gone out so far this year, just to make sure you can check the ice in front of you to make sure. Because I know when I first got on Mitchell this year, I had about 3 inches of ice here, and I poked here and went through in one hit. There's a very fine line between block of ice for me and 1 inch of that, in front of me, so no reason for having a split bar. Float suits are the best things to have probably if you've got them, but even if you don't have one this time of year, a life jacket would suffice as well. Something to keep you from going under should you ever go through. That's usually because that's usually what people happens is you fall, and if you don't have your suit on, you're probably going to go head under the water, and that's when your body just freak out. So it's important to have something that can at least keep your head out of the water, so at least maintain a little bit of sense or orientation, kind of what happened.
Something you could add to it also is have a pair of dry clothes, sweatpants, something that you can get into quickly, so that you do not get hypothermia, just so you can get out your wet clothes.
Yeah, I have a bag in my truck that's just for that occasion. Only use it once so far, but it's there in case I ever need it again. Probably the most important thing is bring a friend, bring a buddy, bring your spouse, bring your kids, just bring somebody with you to kind of help out. So if something were to happen, you got somebody there to help you. If you were ever to fall through, or if you got yourself in a position where maybe you went out and you slipped and you fell, and you hit your head. It's good to have somebody out there who can actually get you off the ice and get you some medical attention if you need it.
As far as the float suit goes, I was there 2 years ago when Scott went through, and before I could even get my throw rope out of my bag, he was back up on the ice. He did not go under. He was able to pick himself right up out of there quick. And like I said, I turned around to get my rope, and I turned back around, and he was standing up and saying, "That wasn't good."
Pretty much, yeah. When I fell through, I was wearing my float suit, of course, but I went through and I stopped. This is where I stopped, going any further down. That's how buoyant those suits are, which is good because my phone was up here, so my phone stayed right. But I pretty much fell through, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and I pretty much got out right away, but I took 2 steps and fell through again. And then I was a little longer there, but using my, I always watch videos at the beginning of the season, just kind of, what you do to get in position, just so you get a little review. Like, what do you do? Well, if you let your hips rotate a little bit, the bibs will float. So my legs, I did that, my legs floated up, and I just pulled myself out with the picks. Then actually put it down, and I rolled away from the hole, went back to shore with Aaron, and I was like, oh, well, that was the thing. But then we went out and fished right after that too. So it was May 1st. We never ice fished in May, so we went out and fished for 20 minutes, caught some fish, and got off the ice. Because it was pretty bad by that point. But yeah,
we did have 7 or 8 inches of ice, but it was severely honey.
Oh yeah, it was pretty. When we were stepping on it. We're kind of the daring or not smartest thing we ever do. We try to do as smart as possible, I guess is kind of is what I like to put it, with the safety gear and just knowing what to do if we get ourselves in that position. So far, I'm the one who's gotten in that position so far. All right, so we have the great debate currently: flashers versus forward-facing sonar. So there's a lot of, if you've been on online circles or any kind of fishing thing online, the big debate is, how, some people think that, maybe forward-facing sonar it takes things, maybe it's not too fair. Like you can find the fish, and sometimes you can pick out the individual fish if you really got your screens dialed in, versus the flasher where you can see what's below you and that's it. But it's kind of been the big debate now. There's talk about maybe banning it in some places, some different tournament, some last tournaments last year banned it, or they have a limited number of screens you can use that have forward-facing sonar in them. So there's still a lot of debate going on with forward-facing, but there is no doubt that it is definitely you can definitely be very, very efficient on the ice. You can't always make them bite, so if you can find them, you can bite. That's the big thing to remember with forward-facing, just if you can find them, you stay out of the bite. But yeah, we both use a combination of these with our flashers still, because these are still kind of weighty. These are a lot more weight than even mine isn't weighted as much as the LI scope, but it's still a lot more than those Vexes are. All right, so we'll go with some flasher setups here. So regardless of what brand you use, their purpose is pretty much universal: to see what's below you and how they're reacting to your bait. First thing you're going to do with your flasher is kind of identify what's below you, whether it is hard bottom, rock bottom. That could tell you kind of if it's rocks, sand, weeds, branches, as well as you can tell your depth changes there. If any of you ever put your one down, your screen, your bottom's kind of like this. going back and forth for some reason, that means you're on a drop basically. And your cone is having difficulty figuring where the bottom actually is because of the angle that you're at. Good place to try and find fish at is along those drops like that. But a hard bottom shows it more as a reds or a yellow, whereas a softer bottom shows it more the yellow green. Also, weeds tend to show it pretty green too most of the time. So you can have the screen on here. You can see it's kind of a soft bottom there with either some weed growth or some sand there. But just it can matter what piece you're looking for, what bottom you're looking for. Like if you're looking for panfish, you're looking more for weeds. If you're looking for walleyes, those drops are nice. You're more of a hard bottom where there might be some rock around where they're kind of hiding. But it can help. But just knowing kind of how your screen shows the bottom, you have to kind of figure out where you are and what's below you that might attract fish to your area that you're at. All right, adjusting the gain. Gain's always a fun one. So all flashers have it, and it basically acts as the volume control for your flasher. The transfer signal becomes more sensitive the higher you turn it up. If you might see, because you can see your lure more, but then you start picking up everything else kind of around you, the more how you turn that gain, and you start losing it when you turn down a bit. So there are some benefits to have a high gain and a low gain. It just kind of depends on where you're at. Good, for a high gain, you're making it so you see things easier. So especially if you are in a kind of more of an open area, there's not a lot of like weeds or anything in it. You can turn it up a little bit to kind of see a little bit easier what's around you, as long as there's not clutter. But if you're in like weedy area, you want to turn that gain low because you don't want to be picking up all the weed growth going around because you're losing. It's gonna be hard to see your lure. Yeah.
Is that applicable to no matter what depth you're in? If you're in 40 feet of water or 6 feet of water?
Yeah. If you turn the gain way high in Pactola, you're gonna see everything around you. And it's gonna be very hard to see your lure, even on a place like Pactola, especially deep water like that. And that applies to pretty much any brand. They've all got that with the Markham, Humminbird, Bexlar. Of course, then we go with the drawbacks of low versus high. Well, if you go low, it is hard to see your lure sometimes because you've taken away all the volume, you've lowered it down, so you're not picking up as much. Sometimes your lure disappears too. Or high gain, when you want to see your lure really well, you need to turn it up a little bit. But you can fine tune your game based on where you're fishing at, as well as kind of the depth you're looking for. For example, if you're fishing in the shallow bays at Sheridan, unless it's 6 feet of water, I don't have my gain turned up a ways because there's just so much clutter in the water. You lose your lure pretty quick. So figure out kind of fine tuning it to where it shows up a little bit easier, and you're eliminating a lot of clutter around you. Is really useful with the game. All right, we're going to go over power in game here as well. So most flashers have both a high and a low power these days. You got your low power for shallows, your high power for deeper water. But if you combine that power with your gain adjusting, it helps you kind of get your cone figured out, as well as eliminating a lot of clutter around you, especially if you're depending on your depth. Because you're trying to see your lure, but eliminate all the other stuff around it. If you're doing a high power, for instance, and you've got your gains pretty high, you're going to see everything. Whereas you turn down a low power, you'll notice that all of a sudden a lot of that clutter disappears, but you can always still see your lure. So an example is, high power is when leading in 10 foot of water or less, but you switch to low power and keep the gain, low to main medium if you're losing it, depending on the size of lure you're using. It helps you see that lure a lot easier versus if you turn the gain way down and turn the power down to low. Even in 10 foot of water or less, you can still lose your lure if you have got the gain too low, especially low power setting. And as you want more power to go deeper water, you want to increase that, of course. So it's just kind of a tip to fish for most of us fishing. How many people fish mostly 20 foot of water or less around here? Yeah, most of us do. So you're not going to be using the high power very much, but if you turn it to low, turn your gain a little bit, you kind of get it dialed in a little better to make that clutter and see the fish and lure really well without doing this.
As I can think of. Okay. You covered it pretty well.
All right. So frequency adjustments, which is kind of a little bit newer these days. Certain flashers, such as we have like our Vex 30 up here, the 38, the Humminbird 35, 45, and 55 also have the ability to change their transfer frequency. What that does is just it gives you the ability to change your cone angle. If you're not familiar with it, I think Mark might have the ability, but I'm not sure the higher
Yeah,
ones, I think.
the higher ones do.
Yeah, similar to like the Vexes here. But that allows you to widen your cone, be able to target specific species at specific depths. If you're fishing lower frequency, gives you a wider cone angle, so that'd be good for shallow water applications. You're trying to see what's more around you than what's maybe directly below your hole. Of course, if you're on Pactola or you're fishing for deep water Deerfield or Sheridan, you want a higher frequency to narrow that cone a little bit because you're in deeper water. Because as it goes down, that cone gets wider and wider as it gets deeper. So you're still getting pretty good coverage, but you don't need to have so much coverage. And you also lose a little power to widen that cone up as well. So when you combine the frequency with the power and the gain, you really can get your flashers dialed into pretty much where you don't have to worry about clutter, and you can see your lure well enough. You don't have to worry about you've got enough coverage from the frequency. It's just a good way to maximize what the flashers can do for you. If you don't have the frequency, if you have like a Vex 18 or 12 or a Markham 5 or Humber or one of the Humber models, you can have it while you still got power, you still got your gain. Dial in a little bit too. So, an example of using the higher frequency is at Pactola or Deerfield going after lake trout. Because you need that power to get deeper, so you want the narrower cone to really get to the depths. Because Pactola gets 120, 130 feet. Sometimes in those places from the dam you're fishing from over there. All right. Jay, I'll let you take over this part now.
Okay, some more.
Steve?
Where you're not gonna stay back. Can everybody hear me? I'll let you just. So the current wave of the future with electronics companies jumping into the field since the introduction of the Garmin Panoptics in 2015, especially with the introduction of the LiveScope in 2018. The Humminbird and Lowrance joined the market a few years back with their Humminbird Live and the active target systems. Markham announced to be coming out with their brand new Ultra Lives 360 system this winter. And Vexlar is heavily rumored to be developing their own forward-facing sonar unit to come out next year for the 26-27 season.
They came out with a brand new shuttle pole this year, about a month ago. So they are definitely working on their own system for sure. That's kind of where the market is these days. Is with forward facing. So even the flasher companies, the traditional companies like Markham and Beck, are jumping into the market now.
So I usually use my gain between 68 to 74. You will adjust it if needed for better clarity. With the LVS 32, you have a 75-foot range. As further distances will get distorted. I usually fish around 60 to 70 feet. I don't go any further out because I cannot see anything further out than that. With the 34, which is the newer transducer, you can go 120-foot range. So it's better for longer scans.
What's an LVS 32?
That's the older transducer for the LiveScope, for the Garmin unit. So on my unit, this is a 32 transducer. That's the older unit. The 34 came out 3 years ago. So there's a difference between the two. Newer technology on the 34, a little older on the 32, but it still does its job. Forward view, you can scan around you. That's usually what I use. Down view, you can scan below you, and perspective is used more for scouting, better for open water and boat.
You start to change angles too?
Yep, you have to change your angles on your transducer. So when you want to move if you want to go into down mode, you would flip it down, and then perspective, you would actually loosen this up, and you turn it in. So it would be at an angle in the water. So, but I usually use forward facing because I'm scanning the area for the fish. In 3 to 100 feet of water, clarity does not affect it at all. There's no, it's not like you can't see it. Even if you're muddy water, clean water, it's still gonna work the same. Shallow water means less distance to scan. Like if I'm fishing in 6 feet of water, I'm gonna be scanning at 50 feet. With the LVS 34, you can probably scan 70 feet. But usually I'm scanning less because you're gonna gain more clutter from the shallower depth. Weeds, looking for pockets between the weeds or at a weed line. You're gonna find your active fish in those areas. You'll be able to see those fish moving through those areas. Pay attention to direction the fish are moving. If they're moving east to west, north to south, you can figure out where you're gonna set up on where they're active and they're moving. So,
That's where you tell the person to drill, is go this,
Yep.
this foot, and go 40 this way, drill a hole.
yep, so if I see fish 75 feet out to the left, I'm gonna say go out 70 feet. When he's gonna drill, I'm gonna see how those fish react to the drill. If they're gonna be sound sensitive, if they're gonna stay put, if they're gonna scatter, if they're gonna move. A lot of the lakes that I fish over in eastern South Dakota, the fish are more sound sensitive, so if you drill on top of them, they're gone. You're not gonna find them.
Does that matter whether you have an electric, battery drill or a gas drill?
No, does not.
The sound seems to be. the
Yep, the same, sound same is the same with either an electric or gas-powered auger. Also, you're walking across the ice, you can see them scatter with that too.
Little snow cover's nice, especially if you're doing cleats.
Yep. If you cannot wear your cleats out, that's great, because you'll be quieter.
You've seen a difference.
Oh, actually, one of my friends gives me grief because I wear my Corkers boots, and I have cleats, and he's like, would you take your cleats off, because you'd be a lot quieter and the fish would stay put.
How deep is the water would that have?
Between 6 to 15 feet. I mean, it can happen throughout the whole, that whole water column. They can be in 20 feet and you can still spook them. It's how they react.
Ice is a great echoer of noise. You're surprised how noisy it is down. I've watched video, people walking across bare ice with their cleats, and you can hear it quite a way down. Just how that ice transfers its sound through the water. Same thing with a Magyar auger. They may be quiet at the top, but that cutting noise is still sending it through the water column below you. So they will scatter.
Imagine driving a four-wheeler or a side-by-side or even a truck across the ice. How much noise that makes.
Have you tried to watch it to see how long it takes them to settle down again? That's when people stop.
Yep. Sometimes we'll actually drill our holes because we know that they're gonna be in that general area, and then we'll set up and we'll just be quiet, and then we'll eventually come back in. Maybe 15 minutes, it might be 20 minutes, but usually they come back in, usually. If you're quiet, they'll come back, but if you're moving around, they're nowhere to be seen. Scanning for structure, including brush, timber, rocks, all of that stuff can help you find and locate the fish. In 10 feet of water or more, you can increase your distance. So if you're in below 10 feet of water, you're gonna scan less. If you're in 10 feet or more, you're gonna be able to scan a further distance, especially with weeds. If you're in the sand bottom or you're in a clear area, you can scan as far as you wanna go, as long as it's not cluttered. Yep, no worries.
This is an example, if you're where that light is up in the room there.
Yep.
So if that's where you're you set your little,
Yep,
what's it called?
transducer.
Transducer. You
Yep,
put it through that hole.
Yep.
And you're looking this way.
yep.
What kind of, where are you seeing? Are you seeing all the way to the wall there? Are you seeing to that wall? What's the area you're seeing when you're fishing? If it was.
If I'm scanning from that hole,
Yeah, so what this.
if I haven't, yep, if it's 12 feet deep, I'm scanning that whole water column.
So you're seeing from there to here?
Yep, I'm seeing everything from the top to the bottom.
And then how far?
And then I'm going out, usually I go 70 feet, depending on what kind of area I'm fishing in. If I'm fishing in 10 feet or more, I'm gonna scan close to 60 to 70 feet. If I'm in 6 feet or less of water, I'm gonna go down to 40
Is
feet.
that a circle?
That's a circle.
So behind you is
Yep,
going forward and
yep,
behind.
yep. So I can scan everything around me and I can say, oh, Scott, there's 6 fish to your left 50 feet. He's gonna go over and he's gonna drill a hole in that area.
Huge area.
Yep, it is. And with the LVS 34, you can go 120 feet. So you're doubling, so you can put on a lot of miles in a day if you're chasing fish.
Because wherever it's pointing is where the fish are at, so if you just move your, these around, wherever it points is where you're looking at. So if there's fish, here, you tell you, go 30 feet that way, then drill your hole. I mean, you don't get I'm still learning because I just got used this last year, but trying to figure out 30 feet, 20 feet, every step I take is about 3 feet, so I figure, 10 steps, I should be about 30 feet. Sometimes it's worked, but sometimes I'm like, where are the fish going? And I go back and, I was too close, so I gotta go further back, so.
When they're watching the live scope, he says go out 30 feet, he goes out 30 feet and drills, he can see on the live scope when that comes through the ice. He can actually see exactly where that hole is drilled when he's looking for spacing.
What's he seeing?
I'm seeing debris,
You see the cavitation of the.
I've seen debris from the ice coming down
Coming
through the water
down,
column.
so you can see exactly where he drilled, so he can say, oh, you missed him by 5 feet, or you were right on top of him.
So with your transducer there, you're gonna be able to see almost his whole room.
Pretty much.
By turning it.
By
If
turning.
somebody next to you has the FLX 28 out of that hole, what are they gonna see? What's the-
They're gonna see right below you.
So just right here where the
Yep,
thing is.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, when you turn the pole, like, the signal goes out this way, which is pressure point. It doesn't give you 100 fish of coverage, you have to actually move, turn it to actually get the coverage. So like if there's fish over here, well, if you're scanning around, oh, there's fish right there. You tell the frame where to go. And you turn these poles until you kind of get this way until you see where you want to be at.
Yes, sir.
So if you're focused out on one direction, right, let's say
Yep.
you look at 50 feet, what's the width of that?
That's a very good question.
Based on what I've seen, it seems like, it goes below, where they both do. It cover below you and what's kind of right in front of you. But as far as like the actual width of your camera, I don't think it's actually really wide, just because you're shooting it out basically in forward of you, so it's, from what I can tell, it doesn't get wider the further it goes out. It's actually a very narrow cone that shoots out straight from these things. So you're only seeing vehicles right in front of you. You can't see what's over here until you turn to see where they're at.
So you're getting like, what, maybe 6 foot in front of you? And then another 6 foot when you turn it, or shallower than that?
I would say it's probably about, I'd say probably 3 to 5, I think is kind of good.
I mean, is it more like a flashlight beam, where if you had a?
No, it doesn't get wider. I mean, when you can narrow your cone, when you narrow that flashlight cone so it's almost straight, that's more similar to what the forward does with these things. It's a very focused beam. It doesn't get wider like a normal sonar or flash does. Very large. Frame like this.
I can show you some pictures at the end, and you can see kind of what we see, how far you can see. When on my screen, when you're in the Panoptics, pretty much this whole screen would be, you'd have your bottom, what down below, you could see your fish to the side, where, and all I'm doing is this, and I'm just gonna demonstrate it. So this would be, so this is my direction that I'm pointing. So if I'm moving around, wherever that direction is going is where it's gonna be seen. So right now I'm looking directly at you guys. I'm looking over there. That's how you locate your fish. That's why I use the forward facing more than I do the down view. Now if I'm fishing and the fish are below me and they're staying put, I'll switch to the down view, but I don't usually use that. That's where my Vexilar comes into play. I'm using my Vexilar because it's a lot easier to use that to catch the fish. This is more of a location to find where they are.
You noticed back one screen, I think there was a decent picture up there, kind of forward facing, kind of looks like.
Yep, that's exactly what it would look like.
Kind of explain the grid there, that's your feet.
Yep.
About 70 feet there.
So you can see, the so here's your gain. There's your depth. So you're at 41 feet. Your gain is at 69, and your 70 feet would be the distance you're scanning out from you. And those would be fish right in the middle. Those would be fish. Anything that you see, you'll still pick up weeds, like to the left right there, Scott. Right there. That would be weeds. I'm looking for things that are off the bottom. I'm looking for things that are moving. You'll see those fish moving across the screen. Either they'll be on the bottom, they'll be up in the higher level of the water column. But usually your panfish are gonna be more in higher levels of the column, while your walleyes are gonna be at the bottom, or they're gonna be right off the bottom. Trout would be higher up.
Higher up than anywhere else.
Yep.
Trout in the one where they want to catch trout from any part of the water column, it seems like most of the time.
So you have your time variable gain, which is your TVG. You have low, medium, high. You'll adjust that on every trip. If you use your TVG, it will give you a clear picture of what's around you. You'll reduce some of the clutter, and you'll be able to see fish more clear. Every trip I go out, it changes every time. Depends on what depth I'm in, how much clutter I have, or weeds, or structure. Screen brightness, if you keep it up higher, it drains it out. I usually keep my screen at about 70 to 80.
Percentage, or is that just?
That's the percentage I use. And it's the same on pretty much all of the forward facing. You want to keep your screen a little darker, because your battery will last a lot longer.
Switch.
So batteries are an extremely part of the forward facing system. Lithium is really the only way to go for weight and time. 18 to 52 amp hour lithium battery. Bigger size will run unit longer. 18 is 8 hours, 30 is 15 hours, and 56 would be 20 hours.
It depends on what you're using as well. Like if you're on the live scope, that the bigger screen has a black box. It uses a lot more power. So you're gonna want the bigger battery, keep you longer. Whereas like on my Eagle Eye over here, I have a 19 amp hour battery on that one because it doesn't have a black box, and the power draw is actually probably less than half of what the live scope, the active target, and the Humminbird Live use. So I can go with a lighter battery, but still, this battery lasts about 18 hours. It's on mine right now. Versus if I had no, anything, it was half that if it was running on the live scope or the other work-facing systems.
A lot of the new, units that you mount it to, but some of those have different accessories on where you can plug your phone in and like that, and that'll also drain your battery a lot faster if I have those auxiliary outputs.
Yeah, I do have, on mine, you do have, if I can get it open.
Most of the shuttles these days have all
Shuttle,
got,
that's it.
yeah, they've all got auxiliary ports now for charging phones or keeping cameras. The guys who do a lot of YouTubing on the ice, they're all plugging those into their unit to keep their cameras going as well.
Yeah, so I have the USB plug-in, so you can charge your phone, or, I never use it.
Mine got one too, but I've never used it yet, but when I had a season, I mean, I used to, didn't use the charging phone right now, but it was nice little features to have in case you really ever need it.
Several brands available on the market include, Amped Outdoors, Dakota Lithium, and Norsk batteries. All are very good brands. They all serve the purpose of what they need to accomplish out there for you. Several different shuttle and pole systems available these days include HD Innovations, which is what I'm running here. That's a very popular one. It's a lightweight and durable system. Summit Fishing, Arc Lab, and Thin Gear are also great companies to look at. Clam and Vexlar too for the future. All of them do their job. Fish Armor is a very heavy duty system for ultimate protection of your unit. Vexlar, again, just came out with their pole and their shuttle system.
If you need to see any of these, Shields has got like the HD systems out, and the Rooster is really big on Fish Armor. That's why I want to make sure that, and there's kind of a bigger system, it's kind of a multi-system, but for a system that's gonna protect your, everything here, including your screen, it's probably one of the best ones out there, because it literally covers about everything. It's got a really nice handle for all that stuff. I think that's,
Backpack really sucks.
Which one?
I don't like that red backpack.
does HD has a backpack?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have it's the shuttle bag, but it has straps so you can carry it on your back. Yeah, it's not made to carry on your back.
I noticed that, and I don't know how like the cord is going in there.
Yep,
I'm kind of worried about the cord kinking.
yep.
And you think those cords do you think they'll ever kink, or
No, they shouldn't.
they shouldn't?
No, they
They're pretty
shouldn't.
expensive cords.
Yeah, they're designed to take the abuse of being out there. But yeah, I completely understand where you're at with it, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
I
they want you to
have
slide
buddies
that-
that have the bag and they got rid of them, they're like, don't like it.
Yeah, 'cause they want you to slide that cord in and out of the
Yep.
bag, and then I can't get my hand back there and I start kinking every time
Yep.
I push that cord in there.
Yeah, I just leave it how you like it, how you prefer it. If it works for you, that's what I would do. But I do agree with you, the bag needs a little bit of tweaking.
The only other bag I've seen is what Lowrance has for active target, because that's what my dad runs as an active target. And it came with a, I can't remember what it's called, it's like the Voyager or something like that backpack, but you can rig the whole system on your back. And I thought it was pretty, when one time I went my day wear, it was actually pretty cozy. I thought it was nice thick straps, padded backing, you could walk around with a lot, and everything was right there on your back. But you know, I only used it that one time, so how they work compared to other ones, I couldn't even really tell you.
What's the weight of the unit?
About 20 pounds. For the Garmin, a lot less. He's half that because he doesn't run the CPU.
Doesn't have the black box.
I don't have the back. He doesn't have the black box, which is this right here.
What's that?
That's the CPU system.
That's the processor.
That's the processor to run the system, or the unit.
It's like a computer tower, basically.
So what do you mean he doesn't have it?
He doesn't have, his is built in internally.
Yeah, the Eagle Eye, because it's basically half the price of pretty much all of your other units. The CPU is actually built into it, but because of the price also means it doesn't have quite the features as this. Like, he can go out further with this than I can. His clarity is a little bit better. You can see what's right below him and behind him on forward facing. Whereas if you're kind of seeing the demo here, this one cuts out about 10 feet, and then you can see what's in front of you. Because this one has, I believe most of these ones have 3 transducers within here, is how they can give you here, here, and behind you. Whereas the Eagle Eye has 1. can see what's in front of you, but now it's right below you or behind you. So you kind of take it's a lot more affordable system, but it doesn't have quite the ability to be able to see below you and behind you, the live scope, the active target, and the hover live.
So what does each one set you back?
Look at yours.
I paid about $3,000 for mine at that time, that was 8 years ago.
And nowadays?
Depending on what you want, between $4,000 and $4,500.
And the less expensive one?
This one here only comes with the screen and the transducer. That one is $1,000 retail, but these ones have gone on sale pretty here and there throughout the last couple of years. I paid $50 for mine, and then I had to buy the shell, the pole, and the bag separately. But a lot of places like Shields or Dakota Angular, like Sioux Falls, they run bundle deals where you pay for the unit, and you also get the shell and the pole for a couple $100 extra. So, I think at the Institute this year, I think they were running the live scope. I want to say it was the HD bundle for about $2,000. So because now the 34s are out, so the 32s are dropping the price. The 34s are the new, and the 34s are what, 3 years old now?
Yeah, they're 3 years
There'll probably be another one coming out, I would assume, in the next year or two, which will drive the price down even further for the 32s, if they still can make it, and the 34s.
I'm technically waiting for the price to go down before I decide to go to the 34. Nope, because it will be, that unit will be $2,000, so the transducer will be $2,000. Right now, the 34, just the transducer is $1,300.
Ford systems are definitely a lot more of an investment than flashers are, that's for sure. But, yeah,
I just wonder on the durability, like, I've had companies with XLRs forever, 10 years now, and I've seen guys go across the ice, they fall off their stuff, they go tumble and they get some dust off, and keep going. Like, transporting wise, we all know we can throw our XLRs in our ice shack and go long across the ice, but one of those, you just hit your flip over and fall down, and just cruise across the ice, or should you be more?
I would be more cautious, because you have a lot more investment here. I know a lot of people that use them on their four-wheelers, and they actually put it into a sled, and they'll actually bungee it into the sled so it does not go anyplace.
Like vibration?
Vibration doesn't usually affect it. It's more if you drop it.
it falls out of the sled.
Yeah.
Or a sled, maybe going 30 or 35 across the ice.
In the summer, you pop that on and use it in a boat?
You can. Yep. And I was actually talking to this gentleman before the seminar, that actually HD has come out with a way to attach the whole unit into your boat, and you can use it in the boat, but it also, they created a ball joint that you can replace this right here with the ball joint, and then you can attach it to a ram mount, and that just sits off the edge of the boat. And so you can use it
You
in.
don't have your transducer off the back. and
Nope, it's all in.
on the side,
Yep,
it's like
yep.
nice.
Yep, you're scanning again,
Use a transducer cover?
yes.
Yeah.
The thing that I will say, and I've had friends that have had them, if you're gonna spend the money on the unit, spend the money to protect it. Whether it's a transducer cover, screen protector, bag, anything that's gonna give you some protection. A screen protector or a glass, like I have a glass protector like you have on your phone. So if it gets scratched,
You get glass
In these systems,
Where do you get a glass protector that's big?
you can get them through Russell Marine, and they have all the different sizes you can get, from the 9-inch to the 12-inch.
I assume they work just like your phone, but you just still get
Yep.
the screen and everything.
Yep. Yeah, it's just exactly like your phone. It's just, you just peel it off, you clean off the screen, and you pop it on, and you're good to go.
I will say, the higher end systems like the LiveScope, the Rand, or the Carter and the Humber, they're all touchscreen. Versus the Eagle Eye, which is, you know, we kind of went back to the old fashioned, it's all buttons. Also reason why the price is less, because it's not touchscreen. So it's been fun, it was fun watching when this first came out, like I missed it. Nothing was happening, but it's all done on this side. That's how I save a little money by going back to that.
Okay.
Back to the fish armor shuttle,
Yeah.
I have a cradle for the full one, just like.
Yes, they pretty much, yeah, all the systems for the most part have a cradle for it. I will say, you know, the HD one is probably one of the better ones I've seen because of how this works and keeps it really nice and secure. You can lift it up without worrying about it. My clamp shuttle doesn't have like nice clamps here like that, but I always attach it to when I'm moving it to the bag itself, so I don't have to worry about it falling off. For the most part, so.
The other thing that's nice with the HD is a lot of times I'm moving around, I'm looking for those active fish. So if you gotta carry your rods or rod and you wanna take this with, you put it in. And all you gotta do is just take it with you. You go to your next hole, you drop it in, and you say, oh, there's fish 30 feet that way. I'm gonna, you know, either grab my Vexlar or whatever, and I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna see if I can catch them. So this is more portable. I mean, his is portable, but this is made to be a one-arm portable. Like, he has to carry, he can put it in there.
Yeah, I kind of did this, when I'm carrying mine, I usually bring I have the whole thing out. I usually have this out, I'll just grab it like this, and I kind of just carry the whole thing. I keep it in the bag just for all the protection, but I can't take out the bag, like kind of how I carry it around, it's like this. I just put it down. Mine weighs about 10 pounds because of not having that CPU in the bag.
Mine's about 20. No, this is what people used to do with the original. This is they had to carry it like this because they didn't have a handle. And then companies like HD came out with the handle and people really gravitated toward it because it made it easier to carry. Especially when you were moving around.
When you said fish were scattered when you drill water, right? How far did they scatter generally?
They can go 100 feet, they could go off your screen completely, they can go behind you.
So it's not a scientific type deal?
No.
10 feet?
No.
20 feet? Okay.
No. When you see the fish, if you make noise, they're all gonna go different directions. So you're gonna have some go to the left, you're gonna have some go to the right.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe they only go on average
10 feet.
like,
No.
yeah, something.
Sometimes they'll go 50 to 100 feet.
Okay.
On some of the lakes that I fish on in the east side of the state, again, you walk 10 feet and those fish are 50 feet and they're gone. They're off the screen or they're completely gone. And then 15 minutes later, they come back to that area and then you're set up on top of where they were and then you have a chance to catch them.
What's the difference? First two terms, Panoptics and MyScope. Is there a difference in one and six?
Panoptics was the first forward-facing system on the market. That's just what Garmin called it when it first came out in 2015. I think that's on the date. And then when they come out their next gen model, they named it the Live Scope. And they stuck with that now for the last two iterations of the system. You still buy fine Panoptics out there. Used ones that people are selling for $1,000, $1,500, so a lot less than what it used to be when they first came out. But that was just the original name of the Garmin system was Panoptics. It's called the Live Scope. It's kind of become the Linux terminology for name for all four systems because they were the first ones. Now you have your Live Scope or your scoping. Scoping is kind of a term I hear a lot, even if you have a different system. But because they were the original, it's like Linux, right? Linux is the same no matter what brand it is, right?
What was your question? Yeah, you
already answered.
You, okay.
I just had a question about your touch screen. Now, if it gets wet, where do you?
No, it doesn't.
Well, my hands are wet.
Yep. No, I usually carry a towel with me if you have a lot of moisture on it. But other than that, I don't worry about it. Huh?
Glove?
I usually I take my gloves off. It's easier to touch the screen. It works better with your finger than in glove.
It's one of those touchscreen gloves, the product was that.
Yeah.
Use it on. But, as far as everything else, if you're looking for some more tips on implementing the technology here, or any, ice fishing in general, I really enjoy podcasts out there just to kind of see where fish are at, latest news, your recommendations, kind of what other people are using that they talk to. The Ice Team podcast, Shack Talk, Dialed In Angling, Jason Mitchell podcast, Midwest Angler Outdoors is a real good one. Ice Stuff, another really good one. They're a real good podcast to use and they're free. To be able to kind of learn more about, the fishing world in general, specific kinds of gear, because most of them have their own sponsor from the company, so they'll talk about this brand or that brand, or people on who are part of their brand. So you kind of learn about the different brands a lot too, and kind of make your own decision, kind of what you kind of want to go for, get some more information about. YouTube is also a very good place to find series. You've got the Crappie Chronicles, which are a very popular series. Jason Mitchell Outdoors, Dialed In Angling just started up for their new season last week. Devoted Outdoors. There's a couple of their kids who go out in northern Minnesota. There's also the individual guys like Nick Linder and TJ Erickson, Sam Sobey. Those guys get tens of thousands of views on their videos because they're going out and really educating while they're out there, kind of showing what they're using and how they're using it. So it's a really good free resource, to use to really kind of learn more about gear and techniques that are out there for us.
Chronicles, they're very good at teaching you how to use. They use the Hummingbird, so the live.
Yep.
They show you how they're using it, how they're doing it. You can see, like I explained earlier, the guy telling him to go over there and watching the drill come down through the ice. They got it zoomed right in on the screen so you can see everything. And then they tell you exactly what they're using, how they're using it, what line they got, what rod they got, and, all of those pretty much do that. So you can learn a lot on YouTube about different types of fishing.
And different brands as well. So as much as I like to talk about my brand, there's also lots of other brands out there that I use myself, and other people might prefer using a certain brand or a certain brand. So it's good to kind of get a good round view of what's out there for us, no matter what brand you prefer. If you're looking for some more information after the seminar tonight, we both Jay and I are available through our emails. I've also got our Facebook pages. You can message us at all. I've got my own page and my Dr. Auger page. You can get a hold of me as well as my website up there. But we're available pretty much in Messenger or email anytime you guys have any questions for us about the stuff. I mean, you'll know more about the east side of the state when we're fishing over there than I will. If somebody's heading over that direction, it might be a good resource to ask about how the conditions are over there, what's biting. And I know I do a lot of West River, a lot of this stuff, anything else for myself. So we're definitely available for help anytime anybody wants.
One other suggestion I was gonna make, on information is one of, my friends and fellow anglers, his name is Alex Tim. He has no affiliations with any brands. He uses pretty much all the brands, but he does a lot of extensive research on all brands, and he will do reviews of brands. So, like he just did the new Markham 360 Live. He did the review of that here. He's done Live Scope, he's done the Hummingbird. He buys the product and uses it and tests it and he gives his review. He shows settings and all that stuff. He's a great guy to watch if you want to learn information on a brand.
He has his YouTube page. It's called the FGTN Show on YouTube and on podcast. It's more fun to watch on YouTube. You can see what he's talking about versus listening to it. And you kind of love to picture what it looks like. But yeah, Alex is a really good resource, just for sort of general brand knowledge about seeing what's out there. All right, well, a lot of questions, but now we can get some more questions, so ask away. Back.
Taking your truck onto ice sounds really risky. What are some good reasons to take your truck out on the ice? What are the benefits of that?
Well, I mean, most people around here kind of they prefer to get out there because it's a lot faster to get places on there.
Yep.
But most people are following the directions of what they the rules of 12 to 15 inches or in my case 2 feet. But you're only doing it I only do it when I see full size trucks scooting across the Deerfield. Then I know if they can go across, I can go across pretty easy too because I'm a little light for a ranger. So it's just kind of, it's up your comfort level, like, I don't, like, 2 feet's kind of like where I prefer. If I'm gonna drive on the ice, the very few times I do, I want at least 2 feet, and I feel better.
Makes sense.
So.
Well, question on like the software on those, like, if you have a Lowrance, you had a Garmin, is there like a, obviously Garmin's technology is probably patented, so they're not all the same, they're not all equal. What's the hierarchy of them? Is Garmin kind of the industry leader? Or is
Yes.
Lowrance-
Yeah, Garmin by far is leadership. I mean, the rest of them kind of came up with their own version of it, basically. That's kind of why, it's kind of based on, it comes back down to brand for a lot of people. Like my dad, for instance, he's a Lowrance guy, always been a Lowrance guy, that's why I was an active target. And I've seen it in action, and it's very similar. I mean, unless you're really gonna get in there and tweak and dial and do every little thing, for the most part, just seeing where fish are at, pretty general amongst most of them. Some of us have a little bit better resolution, like resolution on here is better than mine, but I can still see where fish are at, see which direction they're going, even on mine, with that, so.
Have you seen like, I've seen people talk about the frequency of it, where it disrupts fish, you put it in.
Yes.
Because of that, it causes.
It can actually disrupt the fish, it can actually affect their lateral line, which will chase them away or push them away. I've had it happen to me, it doesn't happen very often, but it's mainly with crappies that it usually happens with.
Is that if it's like a specific?
Yep, it does.
Species or, like, if you have a higher power?
Yep,
yeah.
yep. You know, what some anglers do when they get on a school of fish and they can see that the transducer is causing them to push away, they'll actually turn the unit away from them, and then they'll use their Vexilars and they'll go out because they're less frequency or they're less powerful. And then they'll use that to catch their fish. I haven't had that happen to me where they're coming in and suddenly they're just like, no, I don't wanna go that way, I wanna go that way. I haven't had that happen to me.
Some of the I listen to our podcast, there's some that say, yes, it affects them, and some that say, no, it doesn't affect them. So I guess the debate is really still out there about the way it's affected or not. I mean, just based on my one year using one, I didn't really notice much. The thing is, I'm actually just pointing at them and I'm going over and drilling a hole, or where's the closest hole where they were at, and I'll go over there and drop the Vexillar down.
Which do you prefer, the limescope or
I mean,
They both have their uses.
I use mine to find fish, and then I use the Vex to actually get below them and catch them. I pretty much, when I use mine, I can go lie down the hole, like where the fish at? Oh, they're over there. I will leave it where it's at, and if there's a hole near where they're at, if I drill enough holes, I'll just grab the Vex, go over there and drop it down. It's because even though it's lighter than a live scope, it's still 10 pounds versus 4 or 5 with the Vex, so it's light, and I prefer the instant feedback, the instant real-time feedback of the flasher to see when fish are playing, because there is, at least on mine, I've noticed, I've used down scan on mine, there is a slight delay between when the fish is coming up and when you actually get a bite. It's not a lot, but it is there, at least on mine. I don't know if it's the same on the scope.
Yes, sir.
How long is the battery like for around the Vexillar?
For lithium, usually you're using a 10 amp or a 10 amp hour or even a 7 amp hour. Usually you can get a couple of days out of a charge. Like for me, I can get 2 days out of my Vexillar before I have to charge it.
That's using it how many hours each day?
That's 8 hours.
It's on for 8 hours.
It's out for 8 hours. It depends also on the cold. If it's really cold, you're gonna lose more power because it's cold. Yes, sir. Oh.
Is it, especially up here in the Black Hills and on our smaller lakes, is it even necessary to use flushing fishing for trout specifically, or is it kind of just like a hit or miss when it comes to that?
I would always use your sonar, your flasher, because it gives you a read of what's going on below you. You can see how the fish react to your bait, same as the scope or the eagle eye. You're gonna be able to see how those fish react to your bait Are they coming in and are they just picking at it? Are they just coming in up and looking at it? Or are they coming up and just absolutely smoking or hammering it?
You
So-
can tell that on the flashers too, especially if you're on a trout hunt, for instance, where you're sitting there, all of a sudden, there's a marker here and it's gone.
Yeah.
And then it shows up above you, there a marker's gone. But you kind of figure out where to put your lure at, to kind of put it where they're at, so that they will, hopefully they'll get it.
How long are you waiting at a hole? You drill a hole,
5 minutes.
5 minutes, if you don't see fish on your Vexilar, you.
If I don't see fish on my scope, I'm moving.
Really, how about a Vexilar?
5 minutes.
Same thing?
Yep.
You're down there, you've got your triangle, you
Yep.
don't see a fish in 5 minutes?
Yep, I'm moving to the next hole.
I'm usually about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And sometimes 15 if I see a big fish.
Sitting there for an hour.
Yeah, it's time to make a move. Yes, sir.
How about, I have the Uber 87, so I got
Mm-hmm. They're pretty accurate. Most of the brand. Yep. I prefer Navionics because I use it on my phone. It comes in more handy because you can put your waypoints in there, and it's in your pocket. On the Helix, it's great to be able to put your information in there too because you can use it. But I prefer the Navionics, but it is a good system to have.
No,
Yes, sir.
with that avionics that you said, will it tell you basically, okay, some of the podcasts and stuff, they say, well, this lake had just lake trout and trout, perch, whatever. But if you wanna get specifically where they're at, does some of these, avionics or whatever tell you where they hang out more?
No, it does not. It just gives you general information of the depths of where your inside turns, your points, where you're gonna be able to look for fish.
So it'll tell you what fish are hanging on there.
The newest app that came out is the Onyx Fish app, and that will actually give you more information on what's in the lake. So if you wanna chase rainbow trout, and you put it into the system, and you put in your location, it'll pull up all the lakes that have rainbow trout in that area.
And the size.
And the size range. So if you put in Pactola, it would put in, that you can catch fish over 24 inches. You can actually put into the system trophy caliber fish, and it will give you all the lakes that would have trophy caliber fish
Now,
in
would
your,
it be on your phone?
on the phone.
If you have an iPhone.
Yeah, it's not available.
It's not available on the Google one yet, but you can get the website on Onyx Fish. That is what I did because I run a Samsung phone. And they had a special deal.
Onyx Fish.
There was a special deal this year.
ONX.
For Christmas, they were offering about 30% off. It's only like $24 for a year. So I could have access to all these maps on my phone because I have the web browser on Onyx, even though I can't get an app.
Let me grab a different pen.
As long as I got the data.
Is it working?
Depends on the link on that, of course. but-
ONX. FIS, your fish.
I was gonna ask if you've ever used the flasher mode on the Garmin, and if you have, do you feel it's as good as a Vexilar, or do you just tend to use your Vexilar?
I just tend to use the Vexilar, because then I'm not messing with settings.
It does have a flasher mode on it, right? I think.
The Humminbirds.
The Humminbird does the best,
I thought the Garmin had.
the Garmin does not have it.
These guys ones that you've got sonar, maps, a combo of them, they got, mine is sonar.
That's what we did. Striker four.
Oh, yeah. Or the old Lowrance X series.
Is there a battery meter for the lithium batteries? Have you seen one of those yet?
I know that it does, yes. So right now, on my voltage, it's 13.1.
But for like Vexilar, it's.
The upper system, the 30 and the 38 both have that ability to show it on the screen there. But as far as I know, but I know that those are the only Vexron models that have that feature. And as far as the other brands, I'm not sure, maybe like I'm sure, since you either have, like with the Humber, you either have the old 35, 45, 55, or you have their big full screens that have got flash mode and whatnot. I'm sure they have a way that because it's easier to put it on these screens than it is on on an actual flasher screen.
The Vexars actually have a thing you can buy separate to it. It's just a little LED screen that goes on the side that.
Yep, it gives you the power.
5 bars, like your battery.
That's only for NiCad, that's only for lead acid batteries, I think, though.
If you've got one of like the 18s and on down, or even the 28s, you can get an adapter that goes on it called the DD100. And that gives you your digital depth reading. Like on my 18, I don't have a digital depth readout. It'll give me my digital depth readout, and I can also check my battery voltage on that.
Work on lithium now?
Yes.
Because most of them, maybe 100% all.
Yeah, I guess I've never really paid attention. I've got it on my 18, and I've got an amp lithium in there, and I always just hit the button and go, what is that?
Last year, I wasn't seeing my fish down there, and like, was it just because I didn't have my phone below, ice?
Yes.
That's what
You usually
I
want
figured out, but
you want your cone just below the ice.
I remember a long time when guys going up there running a boat, wasn't just spraying water on, you said the kind of push.
Yep, you can do that.
If the ice is really clear and you have water, yes, you can actually do that.
You want it below the ice.
Yes.
So if you're fishing, if you're fishing on 8 inches of ice, you want your cable, your transducer to be at 9 inches or 10 inches.
So if you're fishing in deeper water, what's the best degree transducer to use? If you don't have one that has.
In deeper water?
Yeah.
The narrow cones are probably your best. But I know they, like the 8, the 12, and the 18 both have, I think they all have 12-degree juicers. Because you don't want to get the wider cones
Yep.
in the deep water.
Right, you can switch between a 9 and a 12.
So a narrow cone like what those ones you want would be a better choice for deep water. Yeah.
Excuse me, I would say, if I were to go buy 1%, are there any key features that you guys are using that you don't look for, or is it necessarily make it better?
It kind of depends on the features you're kind of looking for. Like if you're just kind of looking for like somebody on the weekends with, if you know, kind of the weekend fisherman would say, you may not need to have all the bells and whistles in your system. You might just see something that just shows you what's below you and that's it. So you're kind of the lower end systems, like the Vex 8 or 12, Markham 1, 3, or 5, the Bird 35. Those really will just tell you what's below you, your depth, and that's about it. There's nothing really to just turn on and go. Now, if you want certain things, if you want zoom for like deeper water fishing, like walleyes or lake trout or suspended fish, then you might be looking at upgrading to like a Vex 18, Vex 28, or any other kind of higher end models like the Hummingbird or Markham. When the forward facing, that's kind of up to you what you're looking for. I'm not looking at a flasher strictly right now. But forward facing, it depends on what you want. Like what I want it for, it's just tell me where fish are at. So I didn't really need it to tell me what's below me once I'm forward mode like this. I mean, if I saved enough money for it, I probably would have got one of these last year. But I didn't at the time. I had what I had to get that, and I'd like, well, for what I'm gonna use it for, maybe I don't need to spend $2,500 or whatever it was on these. That one worked out for you pretty well. It tells me where the fish are at, and I nicely where it's at, and go. Like the sheriff tournament last year, when I was fishing it, I drilled probably 40 or 50 holes, kind of in a big grid area here, and in the middle, I stuck it up. And I just used it to find where the fish were at, and then wherever hole, they were closest at the guess from the distance, I'd walk to that hole, drop it down, catch a couple, go back to the middle, oh, where they go, there they are, go to that hole over there. I put on a lot of steps that day, but I also caught a lot of perch.
Yes, sir.
I have an older Vexler. I'm assuming it's probably from the early '90s. But I also have one of those Garmin. It's called a strike caster.
Oh yes, the castable ball. Yeah.
But they have an A scope plus a flasher setting on that. Have you guys have any experience with those? Like,
They're okay. They do it. They do the job again. I know a few people that use them and they've had success with them.
so.
I don't know much more about them than that, but they do it. They do work.
Yeah.
If you're on a budget.
Yeah.
Just another trout related question.
know, my best luck has usually been with either a pinhead in a 32nd ounce or a 16th ounce, or a slightly bigger jig, like about a 16th ounce or a 5mm jig. Tends to work. Gold is always a good color. Pink, white are always also really good colors to use. Spoons are kind of a fun way to do it because you know you got the spoon up and when it's the they'll just slam a spoon on the times. So it just depends on like the water clarity. Like if you're on Pactola, super clear water, nice shiny spoons. Water that's a little stained, like like Sylvan can be a little stained, Leaf McCoy gets a little stained. Robay can be stained. If you're using more of the bright colors, pinks, like chartreuses, something that kind of reflects the light but getting down a little more. That it doesn't have, because that's just where the water is when it's a little stained. Yeah, we have plenty. They got lots of different loads of purity. So I do a lot of fishing. It's time for a couple more questions, I think.
So, like on that live scope, how deep can you actually see stuff?
You can go 100 feet if you want.
Which, like, if you were out in 120 foot Pactola chasing Lakers.
Yeah, you could see it.
Can you?
Yeah, with it. Yep. You can go, I believe you can go 120 feet or more. Some of the guys that I watch on YouTube, Jay Siemens and stuff, they fish up in Canada and they're fishing deep water for those Lakers. They're in 100 feet of water a lot of times.
Even on like a 32, you wouldn't have to have a 34 or anything like that?
Nope, you don't need, it's the depth is not gonna be affected, it's more your scan radius. The 32, you won't be able to scan as far. With the 34, you're gonna scan about double of what the 32 will.
What about like an older Panoptics? Same thing?
Yes. The 32 is the older transducer, the 34 is the newer one. So when they created the 34, they increased the scannability distance. So right now you can scan 120 feet out. And that's the beginning of your scan. So you could scan 140 feet if you wanted. But if you're scanning 140 feet, you're gonna be doing a lot of miles.
What about the different line colors? I see that you got some yellow up there and stuff. Does that make a huge difference?
I use all clear myself. I just for the waters around here, I just like using clear mono, clear fluorocarbon. Some people like to use like colored stuff like red or gold if it's in mono. I use a lot of frost, Planet Frost line. But realistically, when you go, it depends on how far down you're going. Once you get down below about 5 feet, that color will change a little bit. I think the reds get a little darker. I think more of a purplish tint to them. And as far as the gold's more for sight fishing. A lot of guys use that to watch the line. So as the line tightens, it's up. So that's for really light. Gold's really for sight fishing, or the guys who are looking for really light bite.
Like bluegills and crappies. That's why I like the gold or the yellow, because I can actually see that line tighten up, or I can actually see the line move in the hole.
So you're looking right in the hole, you see it tighten up right there.
Yep.
Even on your vex screen, you'll see that fish come up to it, but nothing's happening. You're like, come on, bite. Well, sometimes they might just suck it in and you'll just see that line tighten just a little bit.
It might move an inch, it might move a half an inch. They'll also do an up bite where your line will go slack. Because they're taking the bait and they're going up the water column. And so your line is tight and suddenly it goes slack. And then you set the hook and there you go.
Have you ever had a problem with like seeing really small jigs on live scope?
Yes. Your 3mm can be hard to find. You gotta really try to dial it in a little bit more for those smaller jigs. But spoons and even 5mm jigs, you can pick it up pretty well. But that's where your gain's gonna affect how you're looking for your jig. And usually what I do if I'm fishing with my scope and the fish are in my area, I'm gonna drill a hole on my left, and I'm gonna drill a hole on my right. I'm gonna put the scope in this hole, and I'm gonna point it directly at where my line is. And then I'm gonna change my TVG, I'm gonna change the gain, to find where my jig is at. Yes.
When I've done down mode on this thing, it's usually for trout for the most part. I've done the trout legs, and then I'm using a bigger jig. I mean, the 16th will show up a little bit easier, or a spoon which shows up easier. The pinhead show up really good. I have used this going for on Sheridan, going for panfish. I can see a 4 mil jig pretty easy, but yeah, that 3 mil does get a little hard. You have to kind of turn up your resolution quite a bit on these to kind of be able to see it, and then you can't start seeing anything else too. So it's like a flasher. The more you turn it up, the more everything else you're going to see too.
So do the tungsten type of jigs show up?
Tungsten shows a little better than lead does. Yes. Definitely. All right,
Do you see any kind of interference with them? So like when you set one of those up, you're looking in one direction, and then you take, I don't know, inspection or use metal carbon, but is there any kind of interference on either one of them? When once
I
you
do
have both
see a
going?
little bit when if I've had something pointing at me, before facing pointing at me, I do kind of this weird like ring almost that kind of shows up and just kind of goes around the whole face. But it doesn't affect like being able to see your lure or anything. It just seems to show up on your screen. But for mine, I've never noticed it actually affecting my ability to see anything. But when it's pointing at me, I do notice something on my screen, which is the pulse I'm seeing. That I'm seeing on the screen. All right. If you have any questions afterwards, please come on up. But now we're gonna get to the other fun part here about our donations that we got for the fun prizes. So I'm gonna grab these over here. Are there any kids around here? Are they all out there? Got prizes for them too. They're a little busy.
I guess Aaron, you're gonna come up and draw.
Yeah. My daughter usually draws, so she's not here right now. Alright, let's go with the all prizes first here.
I got a script on
I got a set of some clam lures here. We got round PT, bigger pinhead, bigger leech flare spoons, and what's more kind of big trout or walleye baits.
Aaron Koski.
Thank you.
You go to Orman, you can use those, right?
Heck yeah. Go to Great Lake again next week.
And Jay was kind of donate a pair of ice trackers here, because right now definitely you're gonna want these again if you scare the fish. We don't want to fall on the head. This is a size large, so it's about a 9 to 12 big size, I think.
Jeff Moles.
Hope we don't. Hope we got what happened. All right.
Cards ones I got.
Oh, you're good.
I got a full set of Widowmaker panfish lures here, and one of their glow flashlights too, actually make the scene really shiny. Widowmaker is probably one of my favorite panfish brands out there as far as the different lures they make. And it was nice that you donated a bunch of jigs to the seminar, and I thought it was kind of fun to make a nice big pack here with a bunch of the jigs they made.
James Hogue.
Alright, we will grab. Maybe talk about what you do here. Jay makes his Ravenhead Outdoors brand. He ties his own lure.
Yeah, I tie my own jigs back in eastern South Dakota. My page is Ravenhead Outdoors. You can contact me through there if you want to order. I make walleye to panfish. Aaron and Scott are two of my biggest supporters out here.
They're amazing for trout, both open water and through the ice. I caught some incredible fish with those jigs. Air jigs in general are amazing for trout. Black marabou, the hairstyle, the new plastic ones, the rubber tails that he's got. I'm really excited to try some of those. But I've caught some incredible fish with those, and his quality of work on those. I've bought some before at different bait shops. After 2, 3, 4 fish, they're unraveling. The hackle is all spread out, but on his you can catch 15, 20 fish, and it looks like you just put it on.
The prospector that he makes and
the Black Hills Go.
Black Hills Go.
Killer jigs on the trout here in the hills. And panfish, like a lot of bluegills on Sheridan.
So, but I made some actual tungsten of my new jig, I call it the Nano Wiggler. So I'm gonna donate 12 jigs to the next person, and I hope they work for you as well as they work for me. Ryan Flynn. Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you.
Alright, number two. I'll put my little plug here for my wife. She is the owner of Aurora Ray Creations. She makes all these nice gemstone bracelets. So hopefully a nice lady will win this, or you can give it to your lady friend if you'd like. We've got a couple of really nice ones here that she makes. So we'll do a drawing for these. She just sells about $20 each. So.
Chris Dipel.
Alright. And next, Cold Snap donated a couple of rods to their sonars this year. This is the one for this one. This is the Eagle SPG, so it's got a split grip. This is one of their it's a kind of a noodle tip, but it's got a lot of backbone. This is one I use for bigger trout, like the Pactola. And some of the guys that use this one as kind of a light walleye action, because you can use a little bit heavier jigs or spoons with this, and it's not going to be like this, like some of the noodles, but actually it bends a little bit. That's got a lot of backbone for a real good hook set. So we'll see who gets this one.
Larry
Mills?
Larry Mills.
Alright. Alright, and then we go with Amp over here. Amp donated a couple of batteries to the sonar as well. These are listed that we're talking about. So this one is this is an 8 amp. This is their 8 amp batteries. Only weighs just a shade under 1.5 pounds compared to a 5-pound SLA that most of your flashes come with. So and here's the charger for it. So this would be good for somebody who's got a unit who needs a lithium battery.
Nobody won. Brian
Pavro. There you go. All lithium, so you really tell the difference between us. I mean, this battery weighs almost less than, actually this battery weighs more than this right now. Makes that lithium battery. Alright, we got Fleet Farm donating a nice $100 gift card. Yeah. So, and they have lots of sales going on ice fishing right now, so it's a good time to get over to the store. Pick up some gear at a cheap price.
Arnett Carno.
Arnett. All right, and next will be the kind of a grand prize for tonight. Relevant is a sunglasses company that I staff with. They are, my opinion, based on my trying other brands. Awesome brands. They're probably the best ones. They actually have a transition effect where they lighten and darken based on the UV that's coming down to you. There's no glass I've ever worn, I've never squinted, no matter how bright it's outside out in the ice, and you get all that reflection off. So Relevant donated a certificate for a pair of their glasses, which retail about $250. This is glasses of your choice. Although if you have glasses, if you have sunglasses that are glasses though, you may have to pay a little bit because they do not usually give you a free pair of prescriptions. You have to pay a little bit. This you might get a little bit off with their certificate. Because I wear prescriptions myself. They are probably the best one that I've ever worn. That transition really is quite good to see. So the contact information is all on here, as well as the code to use to order your glasses, which include frame and whatever color lenses you want.
Aaron Anderson.
All right. About the two-way glasses. All right, well, just one quick thing here with the sponsor. I want to thank all the companies who donated to the seminar: Clam, Cold Snap, Fishing Assault. Did a lot of the plastics that you guys just got. Vexar did the towels and the hats. Dakota Baits here, run by Luke here in town. town, he donated a bunch of plastics to this, so. And then Jay for donating his jigs here. Lake Effect Lures donated a bunch of jigs and a rod at the last one, as well as a bunch of plastics for this one. Of course, relevant for the donation and for the donation. Fleet Farm, and my wife for donating her donations to this one. So I guess with that. With that, guys, I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. Thanks for coming on this win. Hope you'll all learn a little bit of something. Please contact us if you have more questions. If you're in the area here, I'm available for any trips. Just get a hold of me. I'd love to come out and fish with Phil Lighty and bring whatever I want, whatever I can think of to help you out with it. We'll see you again. We'll see you on the ice sometime.